The phone buzzed at 3 a.m., its glow slicing the darkness like a cruel blade. And Emily whispered, "Why now?" as her heart hammered, fearing what message waited. A single text blinked, "We need to talk." Her breath hitched, the world collapsing into silence heavier than thunder. She pressed the phone to her chest, willing it not to be true, yet knowing the universe rarely grants mercy at that hour. She remembered Daniel's promise, "Distance will never break us." But tonight his words tasted like poison. Shadows of doubt filled her room, stretching like cold hands across the walls. She wanted to scream, but the sound stuck in her throat, sharp as glass. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling, unable to type even a single word. Outside, rain tapped against the window, mocking her stillness. She thought of the nights she had waited for his call, the sacrifices made, the birthdays missed. Fear slithered into her chest, whispering that this was the end. And yet, through the crack of her breaking heart, she clung to hope like a dying flame, whispering to herself, "Please, not tonight." Emily stared at the blinking message, unable to decide if opening it would end her world or save it. Daniel's words from last week echoed, "Trust the process." She had believed him, swallowing doubt like bitter medicine, but now each memory cut deeper. The silence in the room screamed louder than any fight. She thought of how Daniel had promised her that distance was just geography, not a test of loyalty. Her hand hovered over the screen, trembling, while rain hammered the glass like a cruel drumbeat. She whispered Daniel's name, praying he was not slipping away. Her mind replayed the long nights of waiting, when every call from Daniel stretched across oceans like fragile bridges of hope. Emily whispered, "You said forever," though forever suddenly felt like smoke. Her stomach twisted, and she thought of his voice, warm and soft, now turned sharp in memory. The text glowed like a knife in her palm, daring her to face it. She knew opening it would change everything, but closing her eyes didn't erase the truth. Fear seeped into her bones, whispering, "This is the end." The silence broke with a faint memory of laughter, Daniel's voice from happier days flooding her thoughts. She remembered the time he said, "Distance only sharpens love." But the lie of it burned now, like acid. Emily's chest ached as if her heart had splintered into glass. She wished she could run to him, cross the miles with sheer will, but she was trapped in this lonely room. Her tears blurred the message, yet the words stayed sharp, cruel, and final. "We need to talk." Emily clutched her phone again, pulse racing like a trapped bird. She typed Daniel's name, but couldn't press send. Every promise he made, every vow, shattered under the weight of 4 words. She wanted to scream at him to demand why, but instead her voice cracked into silence. "Please," she whispered, as though the universe could carry it across oceans. Her body curled tight, shaking, her faith in him crumbling like ash. The night pressed heavy, unforgiving, and Emily knew the world had already shifted. Emily sat on the edge of her bed, remembering every night she had stayed awake just to hear Daniel's voice. She whispered, "You're worth it," though the silence mocked her. Her friends had warned her, telling her not to waste years on promises, but she had believed Daniel when he said, "Love survives oceans." She replayed the nights when even a single text from him felt like sunlight breaking through storms. Her heart carried every small moment, every sacrifice. She had skipped dinners, turned down parties, and let her world shrink to the size of a glowing screen. Tonight, the weight of that devotion pressed heavy, a chain she had willingly wrapped around her soul. Emily remembered Daniel's laughter echoing through late-night calls, how he said, "Trust me, this is forever." She had built her days around his voice, every message like air she needed to breathe. Even when the world outside urged her to move on, she stayed, clutching faith like a lifeline. She wanted to believe love could stretch across continents, that sacrifice meant strength. The silence now was cruel, erasing those sweet memories and replacing them with fear. Her chest tightened as she whispered Daniel's name, begging the distance not to take him away. Her family had questioned her devotion, her mother Laura saying, "Emily, Love should not hurt this much. But Emily silenced the doubt, telling herself Daniel needed her patience. She carried his absence like armor, convincing herself each lonely night was proof of loyalty. Her chest ached with the weight of unspoken truths. But still, she waited. She whispered into the silence, "We'll make it," though her voice trembled. The room seemed to close in tighter, walls pressing like the miles between them. Every second without Daniel's voice scraped raw across her heart. Emily remembered Daniel's last visit, how his arms had wrapped around her like the world itself. He had kissed her forehead and whispered, "Distance is nothing compared to us." She had believed him so fiercely that even airports felt sacred. Now, sitting alone, she replayed that moment like a lifeline. Her lips formed his name as if it could bridge the miles. The text on her phone, though, burned against that memory, threatening to destroy it. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, but her hope refused to die. The weight of years pressed against Emily's chest, every promise Daniel had made hanging in her memory. She whispered, "I've given everything," her voice cracking like glass. The sacrifices stacked high, missed opportunities, lonely nights, the constant ache of waiting. And yet she told herself it was worth it, because Daniel was worth it. Her tears fell into silence, but still she clutched her phone, praying his next words would not break her completely. Hope battled despair in her chest, a war she was slowly losing. Emily stared at her phone, her thumb hovering over Daniel's name. She whispered, "Pick up, please," but the call rang endlessly until it dropped into silence. The sound stabbed harder than words. She remembered when Daniel promised, "I'll always answer, no matter what." The lie echoed in the empty room. Hours blurred into nights, each one filled with excuses and broken promises. Emily clenched her jaw, muttering, "Why can't you just try?" Her tears dried into anger, burning her chest. She typed a message, erased it, typed again, erased it again, trapped in endless hesitation. Shadows grew longer around her, as if the distance itself swallowed her whole. The calendar screamed at Emily with red circles. Birthdays, anniversaries, moments Daniel had promised to honor. She whispered bitterly. Another one missed as she stared at the lonely candle she had lit for herself. Daniel had texted once, "Sorry, got busy," words emptier than silence. Emily clenched her fists, whispering, "You said I mattered." Her reflection in the window looked like a stranger, her eyes hollowed by waiting. She wondered if Daniel even remembered what she sounded like anymore. The room felt too big, her heart too small to contain the storm of disappointment. Emily's stomach churned when she saw Daniel's social media photo, him laughing with a coworker named Sarah. Her chest tightened and she whispered, "Who is she?" The picture burned in her mind, his smile wide, his eyes alive, a smile she had begged to see for weeks. Daniel had told her, "You're the only one I want," but jealousy dug claws deep into her heart. She replayed the scene 100 times, each time feeling more replaced. Emily bit her lip until it bled, muttering, "Do I even exist in your world anymore?" The doubt gnawed until it was louder than truth. Her friend Claire had warned her, saying, "Emily, he's slipping away." Emily shook her head then, insisting, "He loves me." But tonight, those words tasted like dust. Claire's voice echoed louder now, truth heavy as stone. Emily whispered angrily, "Why did I defend you, Daniel?" The silence from her phone was deafening, each second a punishment. She clutched her chest, feeling betrayal like a knife pressing deeper. Faith she had once worn proudly, now crumbled into ash. The distance between them wasn't miles anymore, it was choices. The storm finally broke inside Emily. She threw her phone onto the bed, shouting, "Why am I always waiting?" Her body shook with anger and grief tangled into one. She remembered every late night she had clung to Daniel's voice, every promise he broke. Her chest heaved as if the walls themselves were pressing in. She whispered, "I'm drowning here," her voice small, lost in the roar of rain outside. For the first time, anger burned hotter than hope. She realized love had become a battlefield where she stood alone. Emily's hands shook as she scrolled through her messages, noticing the gaps in Daniel's replies, the excuses piling like bricks of lies. She whispered, "You promised me." Her chest felt hollow, a dark echo of trust lost. Then the photo appeared. Daniel, arm around Sarah, smiling as if the world was his. Emily's stomach dropped. "So it's her," she muttered, voice breaking. All those nights she begged for his attention. He had already given it elsewhere. She clutched the phone until her nails dug into her skin, whispering, "Why did you make me believe?" The room spun, every sacrifice unraveling into nothing. Emily remembered Daniel's words, "There's no one else." The memory burned as she stared at the truth. Sarah's face haunted her, framed in laughter Daniel no longer shared with her. Emily's voice cracked, "I gave you everything." Her body trembled as rage and grief collided. Her pulse thundered in her ears, and her breath came in ragged gasps. She wanted to throw the phone, to shatter the screen, but instead she held it tighter, as if gripping the truth would undo it. The betrayal cut deeper than silence ever had. She whispered again, "Why her?" Her thoughts spiraled back to the nights Daniel said, "I'm busy with work." Emily realized those words had been lies. Her whisper grew sharp. It wasn't work. It was her. Rage filled her veins, burning through the numbness. She pressed her forehead to the cold window, rain matching her tears. She saw her reflection, a ghost of herself. "I trusted you, Daniel," she said bitterly. Every sacrifice replayed like a cruel film. The lonely birthdays, the unanswered calls, the endless waiting. They weren't for love. They were for lies. Claire's words came back to Emily, cutting deeper than before. "He's slipping away." Now, Emily knew Claire had been right all along. She whispered into the empty room, "I should have listened." Her chest heaved as truth settled in. Daniel's promises were ashes. She remembered defending him, fighting for him, excusing him. Now, all that remained was humiliation and heartbreak. She screamed suddenly, raw and desperate, "Why wasn't I enough?" The sound cracked the silence, echoing through the walls, a cry of betrayal that no one answered. The final blow came when Emily opened the bank statement Daniel had asked her not to check. Transfers to his account were clear, money she had sent, believing it kept their love alive. Her whisper turned to a sob, "I paid for lies." The sacrifices weren't just emotional. They were her life, her dreams, drained for someone who had given his heart elsewhere. She fell to the floor, clutching the paper, whispering Daniel's name like a curse. Everything collapsed at once. Trust, love, hope. The twist was complete. Emily's fingers shook as she dialed Daniel's number, her voice breaking the moment he answered. "Why, Daniel?" she cried, words sharp with grief. On the other end, Daniel stammered, "Emily, it's not what you think." The lies tasted like poison even through the line. Her tears turned to fury, her voice rising, "Not what I think. I saw the pictures. I saw Sarah." Silence stretched, heavy as stone, before Daniel whispered, "I didn't want to hurt you." The words shattered her, ripping through every fragile hope. She screamed, "You already did." Her chest heaved, her world collapsing in real time. The storm outside echoed the storm in Emily's chest. "I gave you everything," she shouted, pacing the room. Daniel's voice cracked through the phone. "Emily, I made mistakes." Her hands trembled as she yelled, "Mistakes don't last months. Mistakes don't have names like Sarah." His silence cut deeper than denial. She pressed her forehead against the wall, sobbing, "Do you even love me?" Daniel finally whispered, "I thought I did." The words stabbed through her heart, a confession sharper than betrayal itself. She gasped, "Thought," as her knees buckled beneath her. Emily collapsed to the floor, sobs racking her body. "I sacrificed everything," she whispered, "and you replaced me." Daniel's voice faltered. "It wasn't supposed to happen." Her rage flared, "But it did. While I was waiting, you were living with her." Her voice cracked into broken sobs, but she forced the words out, "I don't even know who you are anymore." His breathing filled the silence, heavy, guilty, pathetic. She muttered, You destroyed us, clutching the phone as if strangling the last piece of him. Emily's voice grew sharp again, anger blazing through tears. Tell me the truth, Daniel. Do you love her? Silence hung heavy, then Daniel whispered, yes. The single word detonated like an explosion inside her chest. Her scream filled the room. After everything I gave you? She hurled the phone onto the bed, collapsing forward, sobbing into her hands. The storm outside raged louder, lightning flashing through the window. She whispered brokenly, I was never enough, her voice fading into the roar of thunder. The fight ended not with shouting, but with silence. Daniel whispered, I'm sorry, before the line went dead. Emily stared at the dark phone screen, her reflection fractured in the glass. Her breath came in shudders, each one heavier than the last. She whispered to herself, he's gone. The truth echoed through the hollow room, louder than thunder. Her body shook as she clutched the phone to her chest one last time, sobbing, I trusted you, until the words dissolved into tears. The confrontation had broken her completely, leaving only ruins where love once lived. The night after Daniel's voice went silent, stretched into something endless, a tunnel of darkness Emily could not climb out of. She sat in bed, her body stiff, the phone lying cold and lifeless beside her, as if it had died too. Every part of her wanted to call again, to beg for a different ending, but her pride held her still, heavy as chains around her chest. She whispered into the quiet, it's over, though saying it out loud felt like tearing her heart out. Her breath shuddered in the dim light, the walls pressing in closer with every second. She thought of every waiting night, every sacrifice, every part of herself given away for promises that shattered like glass. The storm outside had passed, but inside her chest the wreckage still burned. And yet beneath the rubble, she whispered, I have to survive this, her voice trembling like the fragile spark of a new beginning. Emily shuffled into the kitchen, legs heavy, every step echoing the weight of her broken trust. Mother Laura stood waiting, her eyes soft with unspoken concern. You don't have to carry this alone, Laura whispered gently. Emily lowered her gaze, whispering, I thought I was enough. Her voice cracked, fragile as porcelain breaking. Laura reached out, fingers warm, steady, pulling Emily's trembling hands into her own. You were more than enough, she said with firm tenderness. The words struck something inside Emily, not sharp like Daniel's lies, but soft like a balm on open wounds. For the first time since it ended, Emily allowed herself to lean against her mother's chest, sobbing quietly, tears soaking into a shirt that smelled like home. Laura kissed the top of her head, whispering, Love is not meant to destroy you. The ache inside Emily shifted, not gone but shared, a weight slightly easier to bear. Later that day Claire arrived, her footsteps careful as if she already knew the weight in the air. She sat beside Emily on the couch without asking, handing her a cup of coffee. Emily stared at the steam rising, whispering, I thought forever meant something. Claire's eyes softened, her reply steady. It will, Emily, just with the right person. Emily's lips quivered, a painful smile tugging at the corners, fragile as paper. The silence between them wasn't suffocating like before. It was steady, healing, safe. Emily let her body lean slightly into Claire's side, whispering, I'll be okay, and for the first time she believed it. Claire squeezed her hand, anchoring her with calm certainty, whispering back, Yes, you will. For the first time, the storm inside Emily loosened its grip, a tiny flicker of strength breaking through the wreckage of grief. As days passed, Emily began facing the remnants of her past. She gathered Daniel's photos from her desk, her hands trembling as if touching ghosts. Every smile captured felt like betrayal, every memory poisoned by his lies. She whispered to herself, You don't get to haunt me anymore, her voice shaky but determined. With slow breaths, she placed each photo into a box, her tears falling quietly onto the glossy prints. She sealed the lid shut with a final shaky breath, as though burying a body that should have been laid to rest long ago. For a moment, she hesitated, her hand resting on the box. But then she stood, placing it high on a shelf. She turned away without looking back, whispering, This is for me. The room was still heavy, but for the first time, it didn't suffocate her. It waited, giving her space to breathe again. One evening, Emily stood at the window, the rain gentle this time, not violent. Her hand pressed against the cool glass, her reflection staring back with tired but steady eyes. She whispered softly, "I'm still here," the words more like a vow than a plea. The city lights blurred in the distance, glowing faintly through streaks of water. Her breath fogged the glass, dissolving as quickly as it appeared, like the pain that still lingered but no longer owned her. She whispered Daniel's name once more, not with longing, but with release, letting it float into the silence like smoke. Behind her, the quiet room stood unbroken, waiting for her to fill it with something new. She turned away slowly, shoulders still heavy but not collapsing, carrying herself forward for the first time. The silence that once suffocated her now felt like fragile freedom. The gym smelled the same, dust, sweat, and faint polish on the floorboards, but Anna felt different as she stepped inside. The echo of laughter from years before rang in her mind, sharp and cruel. She saw herself kneeling on the floor, chest burning, while Clark whispered his poison and Laura folded her arms in silent condemnation. Her stomach tightened, but her feet carried her forward. Anna whispered, "Not this time." The bleachers where she once cried looked smaller, the lights less unforgiving, the air less suffocating. She pressed her palm to the wooden bench, her skin trembling with memory, and whispered, "You didn't break me." Laura's scolding voice rose like a ghost, but it no longer pierced. Clark's laugh echoed faintly, weaker now, no longer sharp. Anna stood straighter, shoulders squared, chest heaving not from shame but strength. She whispered again, firmer, "I am not who I was." The silence of the gym swallowed her words, but they felt carved into the walls. The mirror reflected a woman scarred by battles most never saw. Anna stood still, her breath steady, her hand trembling slightly as it touched the cool glass. Her reflection no longer mocked her. It stared back with raw honesty. Tears welled in her eyes, sliding down but carrying release, not shame. She whispered, "I don't hate you anymore." Laura's voice flickered faintly in memory, stern and sharp, but it faded quickly like static. Clark's laugh hovered weakly, dissolving before it could cut. Anna pressed her palm against her reflection, her chest rising with heavy breaths, and whispered, "You're still here. That's enough." For the first time, her lips curved into a fragile smile. The mirror shimmered with tears, reflecting not a perfect woman, but a survivor. She whispered again, firmer now, "I see you." Her voice echoed softly in the room, not a plea but a vow. The silence afterward wasn't suffocating, it was freedom. The park stretched wide under the golden afternoon sun, children laughing as they chased each other across the grass. Anna walked slowly along the path where once Clark had mocked her attempts to run. His voice echoed faintly in her ears, a cruel soundtrack of failure. But today it sounded different, faint, hollow, powerless. She paused by the bench where she once collapsed, her hand brushing the wood as memory flashed like lightning. She whispered, "It doesn't belong to him anymore." Her eyes closed, the breeze brushing across her face, carrying the scent of grass and freedom. Laura's voice remained absent, no longer weighing her chest like stone. Anna inhaled deeply, her lungs burning but steady, her heart beating not with panic but calm. She said softly, "This place is mine now." Children's laughter rang brighter, not as a reminder of cruelty but of life moving forward. Anna opened her eyes, gaze steady, the path stretching before her not as punishment but as promise. The kitchen once felt like a cage, every plate a judgment, every bite a trial. But today, it felt different. Anna placed a simple plate on the table, not as punishment but as choice. Laura sat across from her, arms crossed, eyes sharp but quieter than before. Laura said, "At least you're eating better now." The words, though clipped, carried less venom than ever. Clark leaned back with his toast, smirking as he muttered, "Let's see how long this lasts." His voice was mocking, but it didn't pierce like it used to. Anna looked at them both, her gaze steady, her voice calm. She said, "It lasts as long as I decide." The silence afterward was heavy, but it wasn't suffocating, it was hers. The clink of cutlery sounded different, not like chains but like ordinary life. Anna whispered softly to herself, "This table no longer owns me." And with that, she took a bite without flinching. That night, Anna dreamed of her younger self in the schoolyard, small and trembling, mocked by voices that once shaped her world. She approached the memory like a sacred place, kneeling before the crying child. She whispered, "We made it." The younger version of herself lifted tear-filled eyes, her pain fading like smoke in the cool night air. Laura's harsh words hovered in the background but dissolved into silence. Clark's laughter crackled faintly, then vanished like broken glass underfoot. Anna's tears streamed, but they no longer carried shame. They were tears of release. She whispered again, firmer, "I'm still here and that's enough." The younger girl dissolved into light, leaving only Anna standing alone beneath a silver moon. The silence that followed landed like thunder, not crushing but final, as though the world itself bore witness to her vow. Anna closed her eyes and whispered softly, "We survived."